Hey YA nerds, my name is Kaye and I like to read a lot, and welcome to another episode of Kaye Reads a Lot. As you can see, I got my hair trimmed today and I'm so happy about it. I feel so free, it's gorgeous, it's lovely. The only downside is now I can't hide any of the white hairs that are coming in on the sides, but that's fine, no need to worry about it. In fact, it kind of, white hairs and aging kind of ties into the book I want to talk to y'all about this week. We're going back to regular old book reviews like we were doing before, and this week I want to talk about The Coldest Girl in Coldtown by Holly Black. Now, a lot of you know I love Holly Black. I reviewed a bunch of her books before. Read a bunch of her books before. I really like usually her fairy books, so I was really interested to find out that she wrote a vampire book. And I also kind of figured that's appropriate since it's October. I'm, supposed to be reading spooky things now. Although I haven't really been doing that this October. I've been reading like a bunch of other things, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. So for the details on this book, it came out September 3rd in 2013, which is really a long time ago. And it's 419 pages. Yeah, look at that big boy. Really thick book. It was also nominated for 5 different awards. I forgot to write down which awards they were, so sorry. But you can find this information on, its Goodreads account or the author's website, I'm sure. And the other small detail about this book, unfortunately it got weeded from our collection at one of my libraries, so I took it home and now it lives with me, which is a bad thing because I keep doing that over and over again, and that's why I have no room on my shelves. That's exactly why. But as always, yeah, look at the beautiful cover. I really enjoy the art on this one. It definitely catches your attention, with the font and the way it is, and like this beautiful hand either reaching down or reaching towards you or just offering itself up as a sacrifice. But yeah, that's this book. So we find ourselves in this world in The Coldest Girl in Coldtown, where vampires are real, they exist, but they're not really hunters like you would think. They're kind of walled away in cities called cold towns. That's where the title from the book comes from. And a lot of the times, when you start turning into a vampire, usually because you've been bitten by one, you immediately ship yourself off to a cold town to live out your days there. Humans also live in the cold towns. In fact, they were established in this universe. When vampires started popping up into cities, the cities would just be walled off from the government. So whoever was still inside when the city was walled off was kind of trapped there forever. Because there's no way to tell if that person was going to turn into a vampire or had already been bitten. And it was just easier to just wall everybody in and be like, sorry, your next door neighbor turned into a vampire, RB. So the book follows Tana, who goes to a house party and then wakes up the next day in the bathroom, I'm pretty sure, and everybody in the house has been murdered by vampires. Everybody. And she goes into a bedroom where she kind of hears some noises and finds a young man strapped to a bed, and he's also been bitten and he's about to turn. And usually when this kind of thing happens in this universe, a dispatch team will show up to just take care of everything. So she kind of knows that if this boy turns while he's in the house, it's gonna be bad. On top of that, she also finds a young vampire boy who's like wrapped up, I think, in like plastic. I think that's what it was. It's been a while since I've read it, so I'm kind of recalling it from memory. He's a vampire, and some people put him there to count on him to go crazy and murder a bunch of people in the house, but that's not what happened. So they end up going on like this weird impromptu road trip to like the nearest cold town, which is several hours away. They pick up 2 other people on their way in, and once they get in there, Tana has to figure out like a way out. She befriends the vampire boy, kind of. It's a little complicated, it's a little, will they, won't they? So it's a really interesting book. I liked, the aspect of like, we have to go on a road trip now because like we have to get to this place I don't know. It's an interesting plot. We don't really see this with vampire novels. A lot of them are like Twilight, or Vampire Academy. So to see something like this, where it's like, oh yeah, vampires exist in this world and it's not really a great thing, and so our heroes of the story have to kind of navigate that. It's a very interesting, different take on this whole thing, and the fact that this came out 7 years ago, and I heard nothing about it until like last year or the year before it, like, it's just very interesting to me, so... We've arrived at the tropes, which is always my favorite part of this video. I love talking about the tropes of anything. As always, the tropes are a list of things that I've come up with fellow librarians as well as friends. Hi, Tessa. That's going to be a trope for my videos. I'm just going to keep shouting hi, Tessa in every video every time I talk about the tropes. I also found some of them, you know, I read a lot of fan fiction as a kid, and so a lot of them are a mix of all of these things together. The tropes for this, there are a couple, but we have broken family units. Basically, the main character, I'm pretty sure, like, her mother turned into a vampire or something and ran off, and it's just her and her dad and, like, her sister, and it's not a happy place. The Brooding Bad Boy is for sure the vampire guy that she finds in the bedroom. He's so broody. Clueless Adults, you know, the adults in this situation kind of had no idea what to do or how to even help. Which is why a lot of the times the teenagers kind of figure things out on their own. Clumsy Female Protagonist, there's a few times that Tana, like, falls over and someone has to catch her, and it's not my favorite trope, but it existed a lot of the times in 2013 and before. Dystopian Future, usually Dystopian Future happens when we have governmental collapse in this case, or, you know, a coup has taken over the government and now you live in, like, a future time where everything's messed up. In this case, with the rise of vampires, the government has kind of taken over, like, a lot of things, but because of the rise of vampires, there's, like, a weird class structure struggle, so that applies to Dystopian Future. We also have Mr. Tall, Dark, and Perfect, again, relating to the vampire dude. I should probably stop calling him that. I'm sure I know his name. And then Only One Friend in the World. So there's a couple of times where Tana is trying to get in contact with her one friend. They end up, I think they have a fight or a misunderstanding or something like that. So that's usually what that trope's about. Readalikes! Another good part of my videos, if you make it this far. As always, to do the Readalikes, I usually go on Goodreads and Novelist. Goodreads, being owned by Amazon, is primarily used by their team to sell you things based on your algorithm and what you've read, as well as, like, what they think you would like based on the book that's on your screen. Whereas Novelist is more librarian approach. It's reader's advisory, and so a lot of librarians, myself included, will fill it out and pull up books based on what you like. So you can type in the name of your favorite book on either of these search engines and it will pull up sometimes similar, but mostly different book recommendations based on what each one has. So for Goodreads, we have Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. This book gets recommended a lot when it comes to Holly Black's books. I think this book has, like, a fairy element to it, so that kind of makes sense why it would be recommended in terms of Holly Black, since she mostly writes fairy stories, and, like, this vampire story is, like, an anomaly for her, in my opinion. And then we also have Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I have this book. I'm looking at it right now. It's in my pile across the room from me. This is the book where the main character is a librarian and she ends up going on, like, a crazy journey through fairy. Now, again, this book is recommended, and this one and the other book by Margaret Rogerson have also been recommended based on Holly Black, just because, again, she writes a lot of fairy novels, and both of these are fairy-based novels, so that makes sense why Goodreads would be like, these two. Novelist, on the other hand, gave me Night Fell, which is the Vampire Diaries first book. That's by L.J. Smith. I don't know much about the Vampire Diaries series. I know there was a TV series based off of it, and it had a big love triangle in it that was, like, a big deal to a lot of the fans. So I do know that there's, like, a female main character and two male vampire characters, and there's, like, drama that goes along with them. And that's all I know about that one. And then we also have The Summoning by Kelly Armstrong. I think this is another vampire novel. Unfortunately, I forgot to look any of these books up before we started recording. Whoops. So that's really all I have to go off of. If you would like to know more about any of these books, you can definitely look them up, either in your library's catalog, or you can try going on Novelist. It is a really interesting site to attempt. Goodreads is always good too, and it is the most popular standard, and you can use it. I just try not to point to it that much, because I don't really like Amazon, but that's neither here nor there, and we don't have to talk about it. So anyway, there's all 4 of our recommendations. If you like any of them or you read any of them, let me know in the comments below. We can talk about it. If I got any of the descriptions wrong, you can also tell me that too. I don't mind having a conversation about books, since it is mostly my job. And, you know, it's what I'm here for. And finally, my rating for this book. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I know I didn't give it a 10 out of 10. How crazy. Giving it an 8 out of 10 because it was really good. Vampires are not really my thing. Yes, I read Twilight. Yes, I was a teenager. No, I didn't like it. I've read my fair share. I read Interview with a Vampire ages ago. So I am kind of interested in this genre, and I liked a lot of the horror aspects of the book. It does get an 8 out of 10. You know, there were like a couple like weird nitpicky things. I didn't like the fact that Tana was so clumsy all the time, that she got herself into trouble for like no reason. And she put herself in harm's way a lot of the times just to like forward the plot. I understand why those things happen. Like, I'm not trying to diss the book or anything. And I did appreciate that there wasn't really a love triangle in this book where there could have been one. It kind of seemed from the beginning, and this is not a spoiler, but it seemed from like the beginning that Tana was really into Nameless Vampire Boy, and Nameless Vampire Boy like was kind of into her because she was such an anomaly and something very interesting for him to look into. So it does have a lot of good redeeming qualities, but it does have like a few different things that I didn't really like too much going into it. But yeah, if you love this book or liked this book or read this book or want to know more about this book, you can let me know. We can chat about it. As always, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or here on YouTube if that is your wish. I'm not one of those people who's like, ring the bell. Do what you want, man. Read a book, don't read a book. Let me know what you're reading right now. And I guess that's about it for this week. So, I guess I'll see you all next time, and peace out, YA nerds.